Hey guys, in today's Make It Work video, I will be sharing with you a successful gardening project using the Hugelkultur technique. And I'll be sharing with you how I transform my garden from this to this. Let's go. A Hugelkultur is a German word which means mound or hill culture. It was said to be used by the Germans and the Eastern European societies for hundreds of years. It is basically a raised bed built by piling the following from the bottom: logs, branches and sticks, yard clippings, manure, food scraps, compost, and finally, all that is topped with soil. The logs and branches are brown matter and become the source of carbon as they decompose, whereas the yard clippings and manure are green matter and they become nitrogen source. These two elements are vital for the health of plants. The reason I decided to use the Hugelkultur technique was because of the poor condition of my soil. My soil is mainly made of clay, and it is poor because it is compact and it doesn't have good drainage. These characteristics doesn't allow the roots of plants to breathe or flourish. Here is an example of what compact soil does to my mulberry plant. This plant remains at 50 centimeters tall even after 4 years of planting. In contrast, this mulberry plant, which is planted in another section of my garden with good soil underneath, is about a meter tall and it bears fruit monthly. If your soil condition is poor, you might want to check this technique out. It took a lot of work at the beginning, but it was definitely worth it. And now I'm going to share with you how I built mine. First, we dug a trench measuring about 18 feet long and 1.5 feet deep. We went with digging the trench after seeing pictures of dug trench on the internet. Looking back, we could have built a bed without digging, but we are keen to experiment to see whether this trench is able to make the Hugelkultur bed withstand the drier months which happens between February and May each year. Hugelkultur beds are known for their ability to trap moisture as a result of decaying wood becoming sponge-like after a period of time. On the internet, it is claimed that a 2 feet high Hugelkultur bed can last for 2 weeks long without watering. Let's see whether that is the case next year for us. Once the trench is done, we went on a hunt for logs around our area and found a lot of them laying around. We found big old logs like this one here, coconut trunks, and branches that had been chopped off but were just left under the trees and not taken away by the local council. You want to make sure you use dead logs for this, because otherwise, they might just continue to grow out of your Hugelkultur bed. Once we had enough logs, we started filling the trench with it. Once the logs are laid in the trench, we proceeded with laying the smaller branches and dried leaves. We looked for anything brown we could find in our garden. Coconut leaves, pruning from our neighbor's guava trees. We even had to take out browns from my broccoli compost pile. And that's another topic for another day. After several days, we managed to achieve this pile. During the period of time while waiting for the soil to arrive, we continued to add yard clippings and leaves on our Hugelkultur bed. It wasn't until after 2 months later that we got enough soil to cover the whole Hugelkultur bed and started planting. By then it was already the end of July 2020, and here is how they look like. We discovered that the soil was really heavy and the weight of it flattened the Hugelkultur bed significantly. So what was 2 feet became 1 foot, but we continued with the planting anyway. Most of the plants I planted were from the fruits and vegetables that I bought from the market. I saved the pumpkin seeds, Malabar spinach, papaya seeds, and mulberry cuttings from my previous plant. This wintermelon plant came about as I helped my neighbor to manage their organic waste by discarding them in my vegetable garden, and the seeds just sprouted. When I was researching on how to improve my clay soil, many websites suggested adding organic waste to improve the soil quality. I couldn't be more happy to learn about this, as I've stopped sending my organic waste to the landfills for the past 1 year, ever since I learned about the 5th R of the zero waste lifestyle. If this is your first time hearing the word zero waste, you can click on the card at the top right corner to learn what it is, or click this picture at the end of this video. 2 months after planting, I had my first major harvest from the Hugelkultur bed. This plant managed to give me 6 winter melons, with the largest one weighing 2.8 kilograms. I had built a trellis next to my Hugelkultur bed for this winter melon plant to creep up. Another month later, I got my first pumpkin harvest from this Hugelkultur bed. As time went on, I continued to add more edible greens on my hugelkulture bed, and today, here is what it looks like. Let's take a tour and count how many types of plants I have on my 18 feet long hugelkulture bed. First, we have the water spinach, which is locally known as kangkong. They are easy to grow, and it wasn't until I planted it that I learned kangkong has white blossoms. Here are some purslines. I stir-fry them with garlic. They taste sourish. And this is an amaranthus. This was more of an experiment to see how tall they can grow. These are my Malabar spinach. Here we have the siricina or pepper elder, which grew on its own. Here is a mulberry bush. I planted 3 of them in the beginning just to see how they would grow. I planted 2 papaya plants and I could see them growing very well on the bed compared to other papaya plants that I planted elsewhere in the garden. These are sweet potato leaves and I have 2 varieties here. They grow fast and they give me my weekly greens. And these are my Brazilian spinach. In my opinion, they don't taste as good as mustard leaves, but they grow so fast and they also give me my weekly greens. Here is my ladyfinger plant. I planted 2 just 2 months ago and they have started to fruit. This is a yam. There are 2 of them on this hugelkulture bed. And this is the other ladyfinger plant. Right at the end of this hugelkulture bed, there was a branch that stuck out from underneath. And this red mushroom has grown right out of it. They are not edible, but I love how it adds some color to my garden. Here is a common weed that grew out of my hugelkulture bed. I googled and found its name is Euphorbia hirta, which is also known as an asthma plant. Have you used this plant before? Let me know in the comments below. More sweet potato leaves. More Brazilian spinach. Here I have a tomato plant. I germinated this in March and 5 seeds sprouted. I transferred 1 into my hugelkulture bed and it is thriving. The others are not as healthy as this one and I wonder why. I should continue to monitor it. Finally, this is the latest addition to my hugelkulture bed, bitter gourd. I'm hoping to lead it to climb onto the winter melon trellis, which is empty now. I have another bitter gourd plant here which I planted in a paint bucket that has been cleaned out. And the leaves are not as green as the one on the hugelkulture bed. This makes me conclude that there is something about this hugelkulture bed that is really good for the plants. And I love how this hugelkulture bed is able to support such a diverse variety of plants and organisms. And I'm looking forward to see it evolve and be surprised by it. To maintain my hugelkulture, I weed them from time to time, keeping the clovers and cowgrass from overtaking my bed. I also add chicken manure for my chicken poop. Sometimes I add my fish waste, bone waste, roots and vegetable peels into the soil by burying them into the bed. I also tried this hugelkulture technique when I built this structure with leftover bricks. With this, I just added old coconut leaves and small sticks at the bottom, even old coconuts, and top everything with soil. The result is amazing as I got huge leaves on my pumpkins and papaya tree. Hugelkulture isn't just a raised vegetable bed. It is a bed that supports the soil system by feeding the soil organisms from its decaying matter and thereby improving soil structure. It requires less watering and also uses up less soil, thereby cost saving. And it puts dead logs and branches to good use instead of burning them up. And moreover, it also increases your surface area of planting. Here's a recap of the benefits of hugelkulture. And that's all for today's video. I really hope you give this Hugelkultur technique a go. If you find value in my video, please click on the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and like my video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.